She was laughing in the video, naked, tangled in sheets that weren't ours, with a voice I knew too well whispering her name in the background. I didn't breathe. My thumb hovered above the screen, numb, before it finally tapped to pause the clip. The messages were still open, dozens of them, time-stamped, recent. "He's so clueless," her words. And then Marcus. "We should break it to him soon, or not. He's useful." That one burned. Useful. My name reduced to a utility. The room around me faded. We'd been planning a weekend getaway. I'd booked the cabin, used my overtime pay, again. 2 jobs, 15-hour days, caffeine and power naps just to scrape enough to pay her debts down. And this? This is what I get? I closed the laptop, sat there in the dark. The apartment was silent, except for the hum of the fridge and the clench of my jaw. Our cat, Miso, hopped onto the couch, curling beside me. Even she didn't know. She came home an hour later, humming something off-key, shopping bags in hand. She looked tired, that fake tired, the kind you wear when you're returning from someone else's bed. "Hey, babe," she said, kicking her shoes off. "You eat yet?" I stood up, calm, steady. Walked past her into the bedroom. I opened the closet, pulled my duffel from the top shelf. She followed me in. "What's going on?" I didn't speak. "Dan?" I packed. Socks, shirts, laptop charger, left her things untouched. "Okay, are you seriously doing some weird dramatic? Dan, talk to me." Still nothing. I moved around her like she was a ghost, like I was walking through smoke. "Jesus, you're scaring me," she snapped. "What happened?" My silence broke her. She started to panic. "Did something happen to your mom? To Eli?" I turned to face her then, just looked, right in the eye, held it. I watched the color drain from her face, the realization. She knew. I grabbed a pen from the drawer, wrote on the back of an electric bill envelope. "I know. It's over. Don't text me. Daniel." I placed it on the counter. Then I picked up Miso, my bag, and walked out. I spent that first night in my car, parked outside a 24-hour diner on Belmont. The engine off, windows cracked, Miso curled in her carrier on the passenger seat. I just sat there. The city didn't stop. Taxis hissed by. Somewhere down the block, someone laughed too loud. It was all too ordinary for the kind of fracture I'd just lived through. By morning, I had a plan. Not revenge, not drama, just extraction. I called in sick for both jobs. Then I started untangling. Bank accounts first. Shut the joint one down, open my own. Passwords, subscriptions, the lease. I left her the apartment. I'd always hated the lighting anyway. Gave up the furniture, canceled my name off the utilities. One by one, I erased myself from our shared life. No texts, no calls, not from her, not from anyone who knew both of us. I changed my number, deleted social media. My boss at the warehouse asked why I suddenly needed fewer shifts. I told him I was focusing on health. It wasn't a lie. By week 2, I was renting a room in Logan Square. Small, quiet, full of light. I slept for 16 hours the first night there. Straight through. Then, slowly, the static in my head started to fade. I took the train without checking my phone, cooked food I liked, listened to entire albums again, like I used to, and I thought, a lot, about how little I'd noticed, how many signs I'd chalked up to stress, to money trouble, to temporary rough patches. I'd believed we were building something, that every shift I took, every dinner I skipped, every late-night coffee was for us. And maybe that was the real betrayal. Not her body, not Marcus, but the theft of belief. By the end of the month, I got promoted at the logistics office, full-time, better pay. I quit the warehouse with a quiet handshake. One job now, one life. I never checked her profiles, never asked mutual friends, but I imagined the confusion, the quiet panic, the silence where outrage should have been. No confrontation, no tears, no dramatic closure scene. Just gone. That, I realized, was louder than anything I could have screamed. I started keeping a journal, not to analyze, not to forgive, just to remember. My handwriting changed, my voice sharpened. I wasn't writing for healing, I was recording facts, names, dates, truths. 7 weeks in, I passed Marcus at a CVS. He didn't see me. Or maybe he did and froze. I didn't stop, didn't flinch, just walked out with a bottle of mouthwash and the certainty that I was not the one looking over my shoulder. There's something surgical about removing someone without a sound. It's cleaner than rage, and it cuts deeper. The silence broke me on a Wednesday. It had been 3 months. I was doing everything right. Early mornings, clean living, no distractions. My body adjusted faster than my mind. But that day, for no reason I could name, I stood in the middle of my apartment with a cereal box in one hand and just stopped. My knees gave out. Right there on the kitchen floor, linoleum pressing against my skin, I folded like a man whose bones had turned to dust. I wasn't thinking about her, not directly, but something cracked. The weight of what I hadn't said, hadn't done. I'd swallowed everything, pressed it down into a clean, quiet shape. But grief doesn't disappear, it hides. Then it erupts. I cried like I was choking, hands over my face, a raw, ugly sound filling the room. Miso crawled onto my lap and meowed. I didn't move. I'd left with dignity, yes, but it wasn't healing. It was control, precision. And control, I was learning, had its limits. For the next few days, I drifted, forgot to eat, fell behind at work, snapped at a coworker who asked about my weekend. I stopped journaling, couldn't bring myself to write a single word. And the dreams started. Not nightmares. Worse. Dreams of her smile, her laugh, her singing along to terrible pop songs while folding laundry. Things I hadn't remembered in months. They came back, vivid and cruel. In one dream, we were on that cabin trip we never took. Her head on my shoulder. The fire crackling. I woke up with the taste of smoke in my throat and my pillow soaked through. It felt like a second loss. The ghost of who I thought she was haunted the corners of my new life. One night I walked by our old building. I don't know why. Maybe I was hoping to see her shadow behind the curtain, or maybe I wanted confirmation that I was really gone. But the lights were off. Someone else lived there now. A different name on the buzzer. Our life? Scrubbed clean. I sat across the street on a bench and stared at that window for a long time. It hit me then, not just that she'd betrayed me, but that I'd vanished so completely it was like we'd never happened. Like I'd been a footnote in someone else's story. I felt small, invisible. That night, back in Logan Square, I stared at myself in the mirror. Pale, hollow-eyed. My reflection looked like a man who'd survived a fire, but hadn't noticed the burns until now. "I'm not okay," I whispered. The truth, finally said aloud. But it was something. A beginning. I didn't rise from the floor with some cinematic clarity. There was no music swell, no sudden burst of insight. Just a decision. I didn't want to feel invisible anymore. So I made myself visible. To myself first. I started running again. Just a mile at first, gasping through side stitches, but every day I pushed it further. There was something honest in the pain. The rhythm of my feet on concrete felt like a heartbeat I could trust. I went back to journaling, but it was different now. Not a list of facts or memories, just thoughts, unfiltered. I didn't try to sound strong. I just told the truth. And then I met Elena. She worked in the building next to mine, freelance photographer, sharp-eyed, always in worn boots and a faded denim jacket. We kept running into each other near the coffee cart downstairs. First it was nods, then it was small talk. One day she said, "You always look like you're thinking 10 steps ahead." I smiled, genuinely, for the first time in weeks. Maybe I am. We started having coffee on the curb outside the office. She didn't ask questions she didn't need answers to, and I didn't offer any. I didn't want to. But talking to her was easy, clean. Eventually, I told her a version of the story. The real one, not some sanitized breakup line. She didn't pity me, just listened. Then she said, "That kind of silence, the one you gave her, that's not weakness. That's power most people don't know how to use." It landed hard. Elena wasn't a plan. She wasn't a rebound. She was a reminder. I was still here, still capable of building something, anything on my own terms. So I began to move strategically. I didn't stalk Samantha, still didn't look her up, but I cleaned up what traces were left of me out in the world. Old tags, shared playlists, connections. I wanted my name to mean me again, not a chapter in someone else's story. I reconnected with my brother Eli. We hadn't spoken much in years. I flew out to Denver for a weekend, drank whiskey, hiked a trail, talked about nothing and everything. I filled my apartment with things I chose, not neutral, not shared. I hung a vintage map of Chicago above my bed, bought a turntable, got Miso a ridiculous cactus-shaped scratching post. I wasn't rebuilding, I was building new, and all of it, every step, every word, was a quiet form of vengeance, not against her, against the version of myself who'd been willing to disappear. That version was dead, and I wasn't coming back. It started with a message I wasn't supposed to see. A mutual friend, one I'd unfollowed but not blocked, posted a group photo from a rooftop party in River North. I wasn't looking for anything, but there she was, Samantha, smiling, holding a drink, standing next to Marcus, and she looked tired. Not messy, not ruined, just older, dimmer. The sharp edge she used to wear like armor was gone. The caption said it was a going-away party. Marcus had gotten a promotion, relocating to the West Coast. My heart didn't skip. I didn't freeze. I just stared at the image for a moment, then closed the app. That night, I opened my journal for the last time. Then I started writing again, just not in it. I typed up a letter, one paragraph, cool, precise, no rage, no sadness, just acknowledgement, not to her, to Marcus. "Congratulations on the move. It's easier to start clean when your mistakes aren't following you around. No hard feelings. Chicago's better off." I didn't send it. I printed it, folded it, slipped it into a manila envelope. The next day, I dropped it off at the receptionist desk of their building. Anonymous, no return address. It wasn't about being seen, it was about leaving a mark. 2 weeks later, I ran into Samantha. Accident. Grocery store on Milwaukee Avenue. She froze, said my name like it hurt to pronounce. Daniel. I just looked at her, like she was a stranger asking for directions. She stepped closer. Do you have a minute?" I didn't nod, didn't shake my head, just waited. She tried. "You never let me explain. You never even let me say sorry." I tilted my head gently. "You still think that was about you?" Her eyes flickered. "What does that mean?" "It means you broke something you were never strong enough to build." She blinked, opened her mouth, closed it. I didn't wait for whatever came next, just turned and walked away. She didn't follow. And that was the final act. It was raining, soft and steady, when I stood at the edge of Humboldt Park. I didn't have an umbrella, didn't need one. The water soaked into my jacket, my hair, the cuffs of my jeans. Miso was safe at home, curled on the windowsill. A Miles Davis record played low in the background when I left. In my pocket, I held the key to the old apartment. The last thing I hadn't thrown out. I dropped it in the pond. No sound, just ripples. And then I walked away,